I'm Christina Giordano, the founder of Sold, your go-to resource for soulful entrepreneurship. And my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. That is SOUL''D. But in order to sell with soul, you have to be sold on yourself first. This is marketing and manifesting with nothing but the essence that is you. This is business that begins within. This episode is called Your Stabilized Signal Asks Only One Question. Now, as a reminder, this is just a preview of the full episode that you can find on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Again, it's Sold by Christina Giordano. You can find those links in the description here. For the past several weeks on the podcast, I've been integrating more of the experiential side of the Sold approach, both from the internal side of signal stabilization and desire-led movement, and the external side of nonlinear outcomes and reality reorganization. We've moved past purely an informational arc into one that is experiential and examines the full embodiment of what happens within the environment of a stabilized signal. So today, I want to talk about the one question that I ask myself at this point in the process. But first, let's dive into how we get there. For more visuals of both the framework and the trajectory, you can visit my website at ChristinaGiordano.com. And you can find both on either the homepage or the mentorship page. Now, when you get to the point of staying in your essence and maintaining that orientation for the purposes of creating nonlinear outcomes, your movement becomes more efficient. Things feel freer, steadier, and easier because you're no longer moving based on external conditions, and instead you're moving based on your internal landscape. So in other words, signal continuity is your primary objective as you move throughout your day. This means you're no longer organizing your life around survival efficiency. You're organizing it around sustainable expansion. Your stabilized signal is the focus, and that orientation requires structural support and compatibility because your signal is not emotional, it's structural. This is why lately my system has been preparing me for a larger life. Over the past week alone, I've handled external situations, increased pressure, and real-time feedback from life that has allowed me to understand what really maintains the trajectory right now, such as support, recovery, spaciousness, structure, and alignment. This may actually be one of the first weeks where my body, my nervous system, my schedule, my movement, my nourishment, my everything, all of it has started moving in the same direction. And this is a big deal because, as I've said previously, coherence compounds. So in this episode, I'm diving into one of the deepest mechanics underneath this whole framework, and that's the relationship between signal stabilization, structural support, and nonlinear outcomes. So I talk about why signal continuity is structural, not emotional, the difference between survival efficiency and sustainable expansion, how urgency destroys structural integrity, why unsupported alignment feels exhausting, and how support changes your nervous system, pacing, decision-making, and trajectory in general. I'm also talking about the real reason why coherence compounds and the one question my stabilized signal now asks across every domain in life. Because expansion is not separate from structural support. It's actually what allows expansion to stabilize from a signal that just won't quit. So this episode is about what happens when your life structure finally stops contradicting your signal and why that changes everything. This is how a stabilized signal becomes livable, sustainable, and eventually inevitable. Enjoy this episode, and as always, be well and take care.